Here's a quote. When B.J. Raymond has to play point guard in a really clutch game, you're at the bottom of the barrel, Miller said. He's never played point guard for a second in his career, and he did for 10 of the toughest minutes out there today. It's all about surviving more than anything. Boom.
This is the Sean Miller Podcast, presented by Deer Park Roofing. Now, here's your hosts, Paul Fritschner and Adam Baum, with the head coach of the Xavier Musketeers, Sean Miller.
Welcome into another episode of the Sean Miller Podcast. Paul Fritschner, Adam Baum with you. Of course, the head coach of the Xavier Musketeers, Sean Miller. And we have a special guest today, B.J. Raymond. B.J., thanks for joining us today on the Sean Miller Podcast. We have so much to talk about, so much to relive from your career, both coaching, playing, everything here at Xavier. And before we get to all that, we want to thank our sponsor, Deer Park Roofing, for helping make this show possible. I want to thank each and every one of you who have subscribed, who have listened to the show, who shared it around the college basketball world. We've gotten some great feedback so far over the last few weeks. And now here we are and just motoring right along. So it's great to be with you guys, and this should be a lot of fun.
Thank you. No, it's an honor. It really is. It's an honor. I'm happy to be here.
Is this the first podcast you've ever done?
I think so. So you're in trouble. I'm going to tell you right now, you want to make some extra takes.
BJ, not everybody knows this. Certainly you and I do. And you probably already know what I'm going to say because we've talked about this quite a bit over the last, I guess it's been 19 years. But, you know, when you become a head coach from being an assistant coach, you really are locked in on those forever moments, and that's the first. Mm-hmm. So, like, for example, the university that gives you your first opportunity. For me, I was blessed. It was this place right here, Xavier. But then you become a head coach, and now you need people to believe in you, and it's not the same thing as being an assistant coach. Mm. So you're the first player that committed to me as a head coach. And if I remember it correctly, I would have been the assistant coach with Coach Mata. I had spent a lot of time recruiting you from Toledo, St. John's High School.
Yep.
We made you a priority. When we talk about being first in line, I think we really backed that up through our efforts in recruiting you. But Coach Mata left us and went to Ohio State. I then became named the new head coach here at Xavier. And, you know, I think the first thing that was on my mind is, God, I wonder if BJ will stay committed, because he would have to commit to me, and my record's 0-0. So the belief without evidence, you did it, and obviously it certainly worked out on all of our ends. I know I could speak for me as a coach, and this program, we benefited so much from the 4 years that you were here, and I know we'll talk about that some, but do you think about that, or have you reflected back on what I just said?
I mean, it was a no-brainer for me. First time actually meeting you was at 5-star basketball camp. I don't think that's around right now. But, I mean, Coach, you know, our connection has been good from the beginning. I think a lot of people don't understand that. And, I mean, I left here when technically we left here.
That's right. Yeah.
We were the all-time winningest 4 years. We had the most NCAA games, and we also had the most NCAA wins in a 4-year span. And that's something that I cherished just from being with Coach. He had a year before me, but those 4 years that I was here, I think it embodied what he saw in me, and also what I saw in him through a lot of talks, is that winner. You know, that's something about me that a lot of people don't know. No matter if it was high school or playing overseas, I was a winner. I won championships, I won games. I know how to win. Adjustments on the fly, and Coach does too. He knows how to pick winners, and that's something that when I look back at our 4 years that we had together, and that you went on and you continue to win, and so did I, and a lot of the lessons you taught me, and what it takes to do, what it takes every single day, that's why we're a perfect fit. We are to this day.
Yeah. So BJ and I, the initial connection and original connection when we began recruiting him, and again, I would have been the assistant here at Xavier, and as a staff, we recruited him, but I was the person really doing the work and the communication. But BJ's dad, who has since passed and left us, he was a high school player at a summer basketball camp called BC basketball camp in Milledgeville, Georgia. My dad would have been a high school coach. I would have been at the time, 9, 10 years old. And, my dad, as oftentimes as he would, he worked the BC camp. Back then, we're talking about, it was a camp like 5-star where the best of the best traveled all over the country to come to this camp. Milledgeville, Georgia was really hot. My dad went and worked the camp, brought me with him. BJ's dad was a camper. He was a camper. I'll never forget, he told me that. I looked at him and said, there's no way you would have been a camper when I was there. And he remembered me because I was like high school coach's son, shooting around, doing, the different things you do as a little kid. But that was like our initial connection. And BJ's dad was a terrific player and just a wonderful person and man. And, we all come from, that lineage, BJ, where people help us. I would imagine from your perspective, a big reason you started to play basketball is because of your dad.
100%. 100%. And the reason why I stuck it out and, shout out to Pops. May he rest in peace. But, he was a mentor to me my entire life. He gave me the tools as far as he made it to be successful. And just as Coach Miller is a father figure to a lot of people, gives tools and lessons and life lessons to help you be successful. And now what you do with those tools and how you use those tools, that's up to you. But he definitely put some tools in my bag, and I appreciate that to my dad. I appreciate that to Coach. You gotta use those tools. It's time to implement things.
So, my wife still talks about this, BJ. I wouldn't say it was my finest moment, but it was a moment. Mm-hmm. So it would have been BJ's senior year, and he had talked about it. We were coming off of an Elite Eight. We were highly ranked. He was one of, I would say, 2 or 3 leaders on our team. And we had obviously a really good team as well. We got off to a great start in your senior year. We went to the San Juan shootout in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
And we played 3 teams. Virginia Tech. Dante Jackson hit an 80-foot shot at the buzzer to win.
Mante, Rampage. Shout out, baby.
We played Missouri, and Missouri was a 3 seed, I think, that year. At the time, they were really, really good. A couple players that were on their team were playing in the NBA. And we played Memphis. And Memphis was a 1 or 2 seed. We won all 3 games. I remember a friend of mine called after the tournament and said, how does it feel to be on Thanksgiving Day and know you're already in the NCAA tournament? But we got off to a great start, and BJ was the leader. So we had this game scheduled in early December, and it was in New Jersey, and we played Duke. Now, what I didn't realize as the young coach is Duke, for Coach K, he always really targeted that game as almost their final tune-up before ACC began. And he would pick a team that he thought would be good, and they were going to put all efforts in for that week and go there. If you know anything about Duke, New Jersey and New York, they have a ton of fans. What I didn't know is I think at that point he would have been like 21-0 in that game. Like he had played a version of that game for 20 years and had never lost. So we would have been game 22. They had an excellent team. Matter of fact, John Shire was playing. He was great on that day. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to shorten the story. We were on CBS. We were ranked. And I remember giving these guys a pep talk. We're going to go to Duke. We're going to compete against Duke. We got no fear. We're not flinching. We're going to show everybody how tough we are. We're undefeated. We play the best of the best. Everything you could say to a group of guys, that's what I would have said. And I really think we probably all believed it. We were down, I think, 23-0.
That thing was over so quick.
They actually, after the end of the game, people would say, we really weren't able to watch it. That's the good news because they turned your game off 8 minutes in. They beat us. They beat us so bad. You could still feel it today. Yeah. So during the game, young coach just trying to get the most out of my team. I was looking around. BJ may have screwed something up or missed a couple shots. Man, I really went at him in the huddle. And I have a habit And I realize this. I'm trying to get away from it. Back then, it was way worse. When I really get upset in the huddle, I spit. I'm not trying to spit on anyone, but it just
all over your face.
Yeah.
It's bad, but you know, you knew where he was
I've
coming
got a
from.
lot better at
and
that,
I
though.
think I remember because at that point in time, I think I was a little nervous, or you know, I don't know the situations, but I want to stretch. It's out there on tape somewhere. Where my first shot of those particular games were air balls. I still remember to this day. Every first shot that I shot, maybe for the prior 2 or 3 games, were air balls, and I airballed the first shot in that game. And I mean, he ripped into me. I'm tired of seeing it. Tired of seeing it. Scared?
Pretty good impression.
But so here's where I'm going on this story. Keep in mind now that's 15 years ago, 16 years ago at this point. So the fact I remember this must have been something, right? Yeah. So what I didn't realize is back to BJ's dad, and BJ's dad is a big man. I mean, how tall? 6?
He's a little taller than me. He's about 6'7", 6'8", something like
6'8".
that. Yeah, 6'8".
And he takes up the room. I mean, he looks the part, and he's right behind the bench because that's where our parents' seats were. Well, I had no idea he was right behind the bench. My wife, who was at the game, she was in that area as well. So because she was that close, she heard everything that I said as well. And she has to sit about 2 seats over from BJ's dad. Well, there's 2 parts to this. First, after the game, you know, I'm like, I can't believe we lost this bad. My wife looked at me and said, I cannot believe you yelled at BJ Raymond like that. Do you know his dad was 1 row behind the bench? You're lucky he didn't get up and just knock you out. And I'm like, I didn't say anything wrong to BJ. You didn't say anything wrong to BJ. You were spitting, and the poor kid just sat there and listened. And I mean, it's Duke. What do you expect? I mean, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. And I remember thinking like, God, she's right. BJ's dad. So I saw him probably about 2 or 3 weeks later. I said, Ben, first of all, I want to apologize. I probably, not intentionally, went at BJ too much. He's our leader. I love him. And we needed him to be more of a leader in that moment. And I went, and you probably heard every word. And he said, Coach, you never, ever have to worry about getting on my son. That's why he's at Xavier, and that's why he's going to be good. And he knows you care about him, and don't even waste 5 seconds telling me or apologizing. I did hear it. He goes, now, I will tell you, when the spit started coming and hitting me, I knew you were mad. But there'll be a long line of guys that would say, oh, when he gets mad, spit. I really try my very best to be in control of it today. I'd say, look, I'm 50% better at least, aren't I, BJ?
I don't know about that. But yeah, no, that's,
I was reading the box score of that game last night, getting ready for this, and thinking back to that Duke game. What stands out to you from that game? I mean, you said how quickly you felt like it was over, but I feel like that game, in some ways, when you think back to that team and the experience that you guys had on that team, I mean, is that a game that stands out to you, or is that one you just kind of wipe away?
Oh, I wipe it away. I can remember the funny points, like coach getting on me, airballing the shot. I came out of halftime, I made a shot and growled at the bench, the Duke bench, and he said, go running down the court, coach, shut up, the game's already over.
And I was right.
You're too late.
The Sean Miller Podcast is brought to you by our trusted friends at Deer Park Roofing. Protect what's important with Deer Park Roofing's industry-leading training, expert attention to detail, and responsive service. From commercial and residential replacements to roof repairs, gutters, and more, request a free estimate today at deerparkroofing.com. That's deerparkroofing.com.
Anyway, yeah. But that was when we were building our program to do things that we had not done before. And that would have been a December game against a program like Duke on a neutral court, one-shot deal on CBS. You know, those are the moments we were looking for. We felt like we had earned the right to take that next step. And I really say this with tremendous pride. I think it's those types of decisions long ago that forged a good path for our program to today being the Big East. You know, where when you can't step up and go to that higher ground unless you really challenge yourself. And this group really, the competition that they played in non-conference, you know, the way we moved towards the top of the Atlantic 10, a great conference at the time. And then the postseason success. You know, it's one thing to get there. It's another thing to advance. And, you know, in BJ, he went from losing a heartbreaker in round 1 to Gonzaga to beating BYU and losing maybe the toughest defeat that any of us ever experienced to Ohio State. To an Elite 8. Game was over in about 30 seconds against UCLA. And then a Sweet 16, a really tough loss to Pitt, who is the 1 seed there. I mean, you think about it, that was this guy's 4 years. So when he and guys like C.J. Anderson, Derek Brown, when they talk about their career, that's why they wear their career with so much pride, because they blazed the trail in this program that really helped the future. And I believe this, that they played a schedule and challenged themselves, maybe unlike any group that had ever done it before. And they won a number of those games too, you know. And I think that momentum really kept going years after we left.
Yeah, I mean, there's a saying that simply says, you know, you can't knock the caterpillar and praise the butterfly. I mean, I like to say our, because, you know, D. Brown was 3 years, CJ was 2, I was all 4. And for me, it's not all 5, but all 4. And the growth that we, you know, the foundation that we laid, and it just continued to trend through Coach Mack, through everything. Afterwards, it just boom. And, you know, the beauty of where we are now, from where, you know, we came from when I was deciding on where I want to go, and it was D West, it was Lionel, it was Sato, it was, you know what I mean? And like, just to see where we are now and see what the guys have now from the inside, not even from the outside, is amazing. 3 gyms. When I had 1.
When I came on board and I started to cover Xavier, people would always talk to me about you, about BJ. And you were before my time being involved with the program, and I sort of wondered, you know, what is it about this guy? And I think there were a lot of things. Coach has already hit on a lot of them, but I think you endeared yourself to a lot of people with some particular moments. And the one that everyone likes to talk about is the West Virginia game in the NCAA tournament. So I'm just curious, can we turn back the clock? Can we go back to that one? Because if I remember correctly, you didn't score all game, right?
You're absolutely right. I was stinking it up.
And then what changed? This game goes into overtime.
Yep. I mean, you can't, you know, everything isn't about the result. You know, it's about the work. And I can say that about myself, that I had put in hours and hours and hours and hours of work. That if anybody knows me, they say I do not have any lack of self-confidence about basketball. And, you know, honestly, I've worked hard for that moment, and Coach had faith in me. I think, honestly, somebody fouled out. Maybe he lost faith in that moment and had no other choice but to put me back in. But I would say, yeah, you know, I think it might have been D. Brown or CJ fouled out, hack masters that they are. They fouled out, and, you know, I think a fast break layup is what got me going. And then he drew up a play for me to hit a 3. And then coming up towards the end, the play wasn't to me. First of all, I'm glad everybody thinks about me, but the true person is Josh Duncan. I mean, he was amazing that day. He had like 26 points. He was a monster. And that gets overlooked, and that's a shame. But, you know, I think I was the 5th option. Even the guy out of bounds was before me. They skipped it across half court, took a dribble or two. I think it was Stanley who threw it to me. And, you know, God willing, through all the work, you know, and honestly, that was just all the work I feel like I had put into that moment, you know, and it went in. And to be honest with you, I think I bursted a vein in my neck, screaming so hard, running down the court, blacked out. That's why I missed the 2 free throws, Coach. I was seeing dots at the free throw line. Could have iced the game. Everybody, I missed 2 free throws. It wasn't on one of them. I missed both to ice the game, and luckily they missed a long 3-point shot, and we came away with the win. But to be honest with you, everybody talks about that game, and I love it. But the game that I truly love, and people don't understand, is Georgia. I mean, we were a 3 seed, right? And I think at that point in time, that was like tied for the highest seed we ever had. Mm-hmm. So we had nerves, and everybody knew the pressure we had. I mean, we were ranked in the season really high, and Georgia's got us down 11. I still remember to this day. I can taste the popcorn, the sweat, see the smoke, and I'm looking at the guys, and I'm like, yo, is this it? Yo. And Georgia tries to come out and throw punches, and I think, honestly, the first 4-minute war was like tied still. And to actually be in that moment and understand between the brotherhood that we had, and we went back to our roots, and we were a defensive team. And to really like clamp up, it could have been over. People don't understand that in that moment, it was, Georgia, people don't understand Georgia was hot. I think they had just coming off SEC, they were hot. And they came for our mouth. To me, that game was who we are. As we were tough, we were hard-nosed, we came to work every day, and no, we're not going out this way. We're not going out this way. And I love the West Virginia game, that Georgia game.
It's really ironic because we were a 3 seed and we played Georgia, and you say, well, that means Georgia was a 14 seed. And if you remember, that's when I think the dome of the SEC tournament, something happened to the roof of the dome. Do you remember this? And the game ended up getting canceled or something, but somehow Georgia ended up winning, I think, four games in 4 days to even qualify for the tournament. And, it's a tough 14 seed to play, a team from the SEC. And by the way, we were playing them in Washington, D.C., not far from where they're at. But I bring it up because it was a noon game, and the danger in the NCAA tournament on that noon game, especially if it's on Thursday, is it's on you quickly. And at the end of that game, if you lose it, it's as if you didn't even make the tournament. Because there's no other games that have even unfolded. So it's almost like, yep, you're there and gone. And the crowd for those noon games oftentimes is sparse. So you work your whole season to play in the NCAA tournament, and the pageantry, you see it on TV, and you're like, wait, there's nobody at our game. It's 12 noon. So there was some adjustment of the seed, the team we were playing, the time of the game, and being down double digits at halftime. Well, you fast forward to this past year, BJ was there, very similar. 3 seed, a group of guys that had not been in a tournament. I think nerves were a part of it, playing a very good team, Kennesaw State. And those guys were playing loose and free. They had a great crowd. Again, one of the first games of the tournament, not a lot of people, down double digits at the half. And I remember thinking, I wonder if it's going to turn out the same way as the Georgia game did. And it really was similar. We put it together in the second half, but it just goes to show what makes the NCAA tournament so special. It has no bearing on the seed you have. You have to be ready to go, and there's some things that are out of your control. But to win both of those games, BJ talked about it. We then went on to win Purdue. Beat Purdue. And then we went West Virginia, and we ended up playing UCLA in a regional final. This past year, we played Pitt, and then we get to Texas in the Sweet 16. So if you get in the tournament enough, you're going to have a great opportunity to advance. The key is it's not easy to make it. You got to get in it.
Did you say anything this past year against Kennesaw State? Did you bring that up at all, at the half? Or are you sitting there thinking to yourself, hold on, I've been here?
First of all, Mr. Photogenic Memory over there did. I don't know if you know this about Coach. His memory is amazing. I think mine is great too, but his is, he brought it up. I was thinking about it too. But that's the difference. Coach back then, or just in general with teams, we were a defensive team. We spread it out. Last year's team was a little bit more offensive, and I didn't want to say anything because it was kind of two different styles. And we were, no chip on our shoulder. Nobody gave us anything. And, but I definitely knew that we had it in us, last year to do it. We definitely had it in us. And I wanted to see him do it, and Coach wanted to see him do it. And the speech at halftime was fiery. It was amazing.
He talked about that.
It was amazing. And it was just what they needed. It was just what they needed. But I'll tell you about that. They got it back on defense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They got it back. They got Kennesaw back on defense. We got it back on defense. So
there's this fun moment that happens sometimes in practice the last 2 years. And you might not even realize that this happens, but sometimes their practice is not going well. And things might happen, things might be said. Maybe it's, hey, we're doing perfect possession, Sean's favorite drill. But sometimes I catch you when these things happen. And it's almost like I see you smiling.
I love it.
He loves it.
I love it. It's my favorite drill, number one, for two reasons. Because it builds a brotherhood, a connectivity of that you need to bond together to get a stop. But also, I love the drill because offense is amazing in perfect possession. If you're on the offensive side of the ball, you can really go at somebody.
Yeah.
And you can keep them there all day. It's a drill. If you guys don't know what it is, it's a drill on defense where you're not allowed to. The offensive team is trying to score, and the defensive team is trying to get a stop, but you can't let them get an offensive rebound. You can't foul, and you can't let the ball get into the paint. But coaches changed it now into the box. Back in our day, we couldn't get in the paint. Nobody could get in the paint. So what happens is if any of those things happen, a foul, they get it into the paint, or the box is what we call it, which is right in the rim around the charge circle now, or they score, or they get an offensive rebound, the clock resets. And what happens is it'll get down to about 8 seconds or something like that, and guys just try to flop or try to make just run like a football player into the paint, say, I got in the paint, So it's a fun drill because you really have to be locked in. You really have to trust your help. You have to know your coverage. You have to know everything because any breakdown, the clock is going to reset.
Yeah,
it can take a while.
You're on defense, and it's 4-on-4, so
Yep.
it's clearly to the offense's advantage. Yeah.
But my point in telling that was that it's cool to see you on the other side now, and I think
everything's a foul. Foul. First of all, because that's how they did me. So hey, it's the way you go. Foul. I don't want to hear nothing. Foul. It's a foul. Hand check. Foul.
No, but I'm curious. What can you remember the moment when? Sean is back at Xavier. He gets rehired, and he calls you and presents you with this opportunity. Like, what's that like?
Well, actually, me and Coach kept in touch throughout my years overseas, so he kind of knew what I wanted, my next steps and everything like that to be, and lucky everything was just in alignment. I actually had 2 years left on my contract overseas. And the time was now. It was either now or like never, in my opinion. So I decided to, I'm really big on mastery. I'll just say that. And I love the book Mastery from Robert Greene. And then he talks about all the different types of mastery. And one of the things is just apprenticeship and learning from a master teacher, person you respect, who's a master in their field. And, having the humble and humility to be humble and have humility about you to learn, and be a constant learner. And that's kind of where I am there's a lot of different opportunities and everything, but to learn from Coach and to learn, Coach comes from a line of coaches. His father was an amazing coach. I don't come from coaches, but I come from basketball players who can think. But it's a different side. To see what it takes to be successful, to see the passion, the obsession, the work ethic, the day-to-day. The best thing about Coach is, he's on to the next thing. Maybe it's recruiting after this. It was just practice. Maybe it's coaching a player. You don't understand the locked in, how to be locked in to the next thing. It's what we talk to our players, and I can relate everything back to basketball just like he can. But the biggest thing that I see from being on the other side, probably that was a question you were going to ask, is that how important it is for a coach, or what I'm learning from Coach is that the next thing is important in life. being able to let whatever was good or bad to be able to go on to the next thing, but also be prepared for the next thing.
The Sean Miller Podcast is proud to partner with Payroll Partners, where you're not just a number. That means providing a best-in-class HR and payroll experience that was built on award-winning technology and live support customer service with a dedicated payroll specialist who's just a phone call away. You shouldn't have to choose between technology and customer service. At Payroll Partners, you get both. Payroll Partners is locally owned and operated by a proud Xavier alum. For more information or to request a free demo, visit payrollpartners.net. That's payrollpartners.net.
What's it been like for you to watch like BJ's evolution? Yeah, at one point you're an assistant coach walking into his living room trying to get him to come play for you at Xavier, and now it's like he's on your bench. He's at practice every day trying to make these new guys better.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, you have BJ and Dante and Ryan Anderson, 3 guys that are on my staff that I recruited, the staff that I was on recruited, you coached them, and, really it's things come full circle, to be able to now have them alongside of me, and especially somebody like BJ, because the one thing that always stood out about BJ is, he really truly loved Xavier. He loved it. He loved the school. He loved the fans. He loved the people
Coach,
here.
Love.
Yeah,
And
he does. He loves it. So bringing him back, the passion that he has is very genuine. It's who he was as a player. I think it's part of his success story because he embraced the challenges. He never ran from anything, and this is a place that brought out the best in BJ, not only on the court but off the court. So to now have him as part of our staff and, giving him this opportunity, allowing him to get his foot in the door, I have no doubt he's going to be a really good coach, and this is going to springboard him into what I hope is a career because, basketball, regardless of level, regardless of place, it needs people that love the game like him, that care about young people like him, that all he has to do is talk about his story, and he has immediate credibility. And it's great for us to have him working day in, day out with our current players because they know BJ, who he is today. They didn't understand the unbelievable competitor he was. And look, I think BJ will tell you this. He's not the most athletic guy. He has great size, and he could shoot the basketball, but his shooting really improved as well through his own work. But jump high, run fast, there's plenty of players that you could say could do both of those. But the competitive spirit and fire that was inside of him, I haven't coached too many players during my run in time that give more of themselves to the team and the program they're a part of than what he did as a player. And what I would say is those same things are a part of who he is in the role that he has with us today.
Yeah, he's still fiery. I watch him in practice. Scout team gets a stop. He's celebrating. Yeah, he's got. He'll have.
We'll
knee
see. He's on the
off.
rebound. He's on the rebound side of things right now, meaning really on our guys about offensive rebound and effort and defensive blocking out and holding young guys accountable and holding guards accountable. And trust me, rebounding isn't fun, and so it's going to be interesting to see all the work that he's putting in to help us in an area that, quite frankly, we need some help in right now.
And he still plays in TBT.
I mean, for me, I grew up in an era where trash talk was every day, and it's embodied in me. So, I use it to get myself going, to get my teammates going. And honestly, now I make sure that our guys is ready. I talk trash from the moment I see them in the morning. I mean, I'm over here. Remember when I hit you with that fadeaway barbecue chicken cake garbage? It's a thing that I know works. I believe that our scout team is the best scout team in the Big East, and honestly, it doesn't matter if we are or not. I got them believing it, and I believe it. And that's gonna help our team, and just the way our approach to that every day, the way coach uses the scout team is very important. And for me, that edge, and that's what in my era of players, if you would say, we had that chip, we had that edge. You're not gonna do that to me. I don't care how old I am. I don't care. You're not blowing by me. You must have traveled. You made a shot. You probably you missed it. I don't know. Nobody saw it. It's all right. We don't got it on film. I'm just a jokey guy, but at the same time, you're not gonna do that to me. I don't care. And I hope that they can get that from me. It's just like, nah, not here. And I think they love it. They always joke with me about it. They get happy when they score on me today. And they should be doing it anyway. But I try to make it as hard as I can.
He's a big two guard.
Oh, yeah.
When you think about it, that's one of our famous lines when we bring in somebody recruiting and say, BJ, he was our starting two guard. And these guys are like, come on, is he really, But,
yeah, they don't
but
believe it.
in Europe and for most of your professional career, and I think it's important, BJ, you talk about that, at least as we summarize here. You played overseas as a professional player for 13 years.
Yeah.
And that's a long career. That's a long time.
Tricked him, coach.
But you didn't play the two over there.
No, I didn't. And honestly, coach, I didn't play a guard either when I was in high school. I don't think you forgot. I was a 4-man, 4-5 in high school, and coach, for sure said to me, BJ, you're gonna be a 2-3. You come here, you're gonna be a 2-3. And I was like, happy about it, but that led to a lot of struggles my freshman year. I never ever had guarded on the perimeter, and trying to go guard Stanley Burrell was a problem. But I played 13 years overseas, and I played in multiple positions overseas. I played 2, 3, 4, but I ended up playing some 4, some 5. They love small ball, big body. But also going back to college, I played a little point guard. Coach, don't forget about that. Miami of Ohio. All right, we had some injuries. Okay, played a little PG. Okay, it was
God, we must have had about 5 guys get hurt.
Yeah, we did. It was I think 2.
That's something I don't remember.
Two. Listen. We can roll the tape. There was some 2 was out. Somebody was out. Dante was hurt. I don't know. Something happened. But I started at the point guard. I remember because I had gave a pep talk to D Brown and CJ the night before. We were the 3 older guys, and I was like, hey man, coach. I can't have, we were like 6 or 7-0, and I was like, man, listen, this is a big deal. I'm at the PG. We can't lose this game, and if we lose this game, it's going to be my fault because I'm over at the 1 and not at the 2. So long story short, summarize, put it all in a nutshell. We got down by like 11 or 15 points or something. I think it was like 11 or 12 points. And, I start looking over at D Brown because I told him, I said, man, you got to pick up the slack. I got to try to run the show. I can't shoot that much because I want to, but don't make me because it will turn into Mamba mentality out here. So I told him this the night before. I'm not kidding. Talked to CJ and they was like, yo, we got you. We gonna, we're down 11 points. I look over, no lie, at D Brown and say, hey man, Mamba's getting ready to come out. I'm about to shoot from half court. We are not losing this game. But long story short, D Brown ended up having like 25, 26 points. CJ ended up stepping up. We ended up beating Miami, Ohio. I think it was that home game. And the next game I remember because I wanted to shoot. It was itching me. I think I had like 13 points. But I remember the next game for sure was the Auburn game. I went back to the 2 and I lit it up. Because it was just like from the all right, now I'm back. I can be back to myself. Yeah. I can just look to fill it up. I still remember. But I played some PG. We can look back on it. Because I never let D Brown or anybody forget about it. I play some PG too.
We'll get Paul to find it. He'll cut it out.
Oh, yeah. We'll splice it up. We'll get it out there. When you think back to those teams, and you guys have talked about it a lot here, like the defensive identity, right? The toughness. And when you think back to your first time here, Sean, and now bringing that here again, and just the way that Xavier always has been built, at least to me, looking at it growing up and following this program, and the way that it was always built was you're in the A-10, you have this chip on your shoulder. You just want to progress from conference to conference to conference. You get that defensive identity, that toughness, play with that chip on your shoulder. And you look at this group that you guys had, you, D Brown, CJ Anderson, these guys that any Xavier fan listening to this show right now would tell you are some of the toughest guys that you can think of when you think of a Xavier uniform. So now when you see this program and where it is right now and the heights that it's achieved, being in the Big East, one of the best basketball conferences in the country, how gratifying is that for you, BJ, to feel like you were a part of laying that foundation in a huge way, especially with the NCAA tournament success that you had?
To be honest with you, I don't know if it's about the guys as much. I think it's about the coach. You know, he instills a mentality in you. Just not gonna do that to you. You're gonna let him do that to you. I still hear him saying today, "You gonna let him do that to you? You gonna let him do that?" Yeah, I don't understand. Coach, he ain't letting you. Yeah, he ain't gonna let a lot of things fly when it comes to like manhood, manly. Like, nah, you got to be rough. You got to be tough, and that's accredited to him. You know, like he doesn't let none of that soft stuff fly. And you can, you know, D Brown, that's my guy, but he's a soft guy really at heart. Let's be honest. Just throw it in the air, let him dunk it. That's all he wants. You know what I mean? But when you got him like banging a little bit, nah, he don't really like all that. You know, just kidding, he knows. But no, that's I think coaches really can instill a mentality into a team, into a player that they can fill that role facade on the court. Don't take it off the court, but on the, you know, within the constructs of basketball, that's Coach Miller right there. He instills that toughness and grittiness, and you can see it how he is on the sideline. You can see it. You know, the flashes you guys see on the side, we see it every day. You know, so But
you know, BJ, your era, and you know that was before I left and went to Arizona. But you know, the theme of, you know, OKG.
Our kind of guys.
Recruiting is, you know, we're after our kind of guys. I think every coach that's trying to build a program, you know, you have to get people that fit the university, fit what we're trying to build, care a lot about winning, you know, and that group, you start naming names, and there's so many others. You know, for example, Jason Love, who for me is one of my all-time favorite players, because I don't think that there's anybody that I've coached or been around that is a better teammate and a better competitor. I mean, he could care less about his own numbers. He cared a lot about his performance, but it was always about him playing for the win. And you talk about having a defensive mindset and improving and growing and being somebody that all of us could really depend on. You know, Jason Love is, he's a definition of an OKG here at Xavier. Tu Holloway. You know, BJ only played with Tu for 1 year, but part of what allowed him to have so much success as a senior is this guy as a freshman, it was a sign of things to come. He had nerves of steel. Like he was unflappable. Even going into the San Juan shootout, if you look at it, in November, pre-Thanksgiving, his freshman year, like he went to the free throw line in one of those games, may have gone 10 for 10 to ice it. Might have been the Memphis game. You know, he was unflappable. And obviously as he grew and became bigger and older and more to his game, I mean, think about the presence he had here for 4 years. It's incredible. But when he came here, not everybody was a believer in who he was as a player. I don't know if anybody had a crystal ball that could say he's going to be one of the all-time great guards at Xavier. And really from a college perspective, there aren't too many point guards that had a better career than Tu Holloway had here at Xavier. So what we did a great job of is we accumulated a group of competitors and unselfish people that loved Xavier and played to win. And I think that BJ is the definition of that in many, many ways.
Yeah.
The Sean Miller Podcast is brought to you by Deer Park Roofing, and their company motto is protect what's important. Deer Park is not just another storm-chasing roofing company. They're invested in your community and truly care about the people in it. You can trust them to do the job right. Deer Park has highly trained professional technicians who make sure your residential or commercial roofing system is installed correctly and quickly. For a free estimate, visit deerparkroofing.com today. That's deerparkroofing.com.
Couple more things before we wrap up the show here. In that quick break, Isaac Feely, who's done a great job here behind the scenes helping us with this show, he pulls up the quote. This is a 60-53 Xavier win over Miami of Ohio. Sean, you had this to say about BJ running the point. You said, Sean, you called BJ your 10th option at point guard before the season, and you had to bring the ball up the court. Here's a quote. When BJ Raymond has to play point guard in a really clutch game, you're at the bottom of the barrel, Miller said. He's never played point guard for a second in his career, and he did for 10 of the toughest minutes out there today. It's all about surviving more than anything. Boom.
No words needed to put it on that. I said it all.
Trust me on this. This is a true story. True story. When I was a freshman, I'm a guard. Coach made a mandatory rule. No ball screens for BJ Raymond. If you're coming at him, he has to throw it at you and use it as a handoff. We went from do not ball screen for BJ Raymond to give it to him and let him run the show and set the table, baby. Let it go. That's how you know. That's how you grow.
All right. One other question I had before we get to our last segment is you spent so long in Europe in your playing career, and now on this current Xavier team, there are 3 international players that I'm wondering, have you been able to talk with them in the short time that they've been here so far, kind of been able to relate to them or help them in their transition over here to the States?
Yeah, I played in pretty much all of their countries, but played in 2 of the players' countries. So I can relate to on the flip side, and I'm always, checking and seeing how they really are doing, because a lot of times that first answer, they're just gonna, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you gotta be like, nah, it's cool. Like, how are you adjusting to the time, the weather, being away from, your family, how's the food, and things like that, because, it's different, and it's important because I've been over there and felt alone sometimes that somebody, just constantly asking like how you're doing, but also remembering what they said or what was this and what was their problem with this or what was, what they think they, want to have a conversation with them, a real conversation, not just like, how are you doing?
Sure. All right. So, BJ, we have a few pictures here.
No, Lord.
We want you to describe the feeling that you see.
Hopefully you got my good side.
When you see these pictures, flash them up on the screen. Here's your first picture.
Oh, that's my guy, Jamel Cornley. First of all, shout out to him. We played at All Ohio together. But, oh, my God. See, you realize I had hair. Okay, I had braids.
Look at that.
And it was great hair.
That's back to my high school days.
You look the exact same.
Thank you, Coach. That's a lie. Wow. Shots fired. But no, that was an amazing game for me, actually.
I would say one thing, BJ, is, your high school program. I mean, excellent coach. Coach Heinschel.
Coach Heinschel, baby.
I mean, Hall of Famer. Brian Roberts, teammate.
Yep.
That we played against at Dayton, but played in the NBA.
Yep.
Had a great career overseas and in the NBA.
Yep.
Zach, who went to Notre Dame. I mean, that's your high school. And you guys were all in the same class? Right?
No, Brian was a year older than me.
Brian was a year older, yeah.
But I mean, we had Ate.
Yeah.
We had Andrew Taylor, who was a Xavier guy, ended up being a Xavier guy.
It's a heck of a team.
We had like 6 D1s on our team.
Right.
And this is the game to go to the state championship. So, I mean.
So you won this game.
Yeah, we won this game.
All right.
We won this game.
Next up.
Oh, my God. That's my girl, Nikki McCoy. Shout out. That's my homie. But, yeah, no, that goes back to just the work that instilled. Brian Roberts left, so I was able to get a player of the year finally. No. But, no, that's just my senior year, one of the things that accompanied from the work that I put in.
All right.
Somebody got subbed out. Mace to the face.
All right.
I looked like I just hit a big shot. Oh, yeah. Oh.
That's your go-to, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that looked like that's chicken dinner right there. That's
Look
winter.
at Joe Sunderman over here.
He's excited.
Winner.
Joe
I think
Sunderman.
maybe this is the shot against West Virginia to go to the Elite Eight.
Yeah. Yep, that's chicken dinner. Winner, chicken dinner. Onions.
Would this have been UCLA?
That might have been the first media timeout against UCLA.
Consoling him already.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like I just did something crazy. You could tell. You could see
I'm
it on
going
my
to say
face.
that's probably Pitt would have been your last game, right? Probably at the very, very end, maybe when it was all over.
Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah.
That might.
How about this?
Stop eating pizza. First order, I'm in Italy. still giving out work.
Look at the
you
difference.
should.
Look at the difference though between, if I can get it, that BJ Raymond, and then that BJ Raymond, and then what we just saw. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, the emotions, the emotions are different right there. I guess I'm at the line. Somebody couldn't guard me. They fouled me, put me on the line.
All right, and I think this is the last one. Nope, 2 more. How about this? You come back.
And that emotion I felt right there is that, yo, Adrian! Rocky, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I remember
You
that.
lose, you win, but hey, you know what I'm saying? I did it! I made it to the top! Yo, Adrian! I just finished!
That game was in Centos, and Xavier fans were literally chanting for you to get in that game. You got in, and you hit a 3. That was fun.
TBT.
Yeah.
TBT. I mean, it was somebody. Nobody could have written it any better.
Yeah.
That honestly, that memory was a lifetime for a lifetime for me. When I actually seen it through the clips of how the arena erupted. Had my sons there. That moment after looking at it during the game, it was just like I made a shot. People got But then when I actually seen the love and I seen it, it was an emotional moment for everybody there. I appreciate that. That's a moment that'll last me a lifetime. I really appreciate it.
All right, and then talking about emotion, how about this one? Last one.
Oh yeah, that's my Rome dog. That's my dog.
And this would have been either Kennesaw State or Pitt this past year down in Greensboro.
Yeah, no, I think this is. I think it was to go to Sweet 16. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know that Rome just had an amazing game.
He did.
Whatever
against
game.
Pitt. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he had amazing games in both of them, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, if it would have clipped better, I probably knocked him down. I hit him with a real man's chest bump, and he didn't take it like a man. I did that. But no, he, that I was fired up, and just being on the other side and seeing the work that guys put in. From Rome, where it reminded me like of myself and my career, where in the beginning it was rough, it was tough. He was trying to find his way, with the new coach and a new system, and it didn't look like it was going to go his way. But just the results can affect the work, no matter if you're doing good or you're doing bad. And he just stuck with it, working extra, doing extra, and honestly, just the extra reps is somebody just looking over him is what he needed. Just the extra work, the extra reps is also what we believe in, and just to see it come out on that stage for the NCAA tournament and him to be out there, it was truly an emotional moment to have that love and care for a kid.
Yeah.
All right, John. Any final thoughts before we sign off here?
No, I mean, I think that in some ways, that this last screen captures a lot of why we're doing the podcast. And it's, you have somebody like BJ that actually played for the same travel team or in the same city, not the same travel team, but all Ohio Red, and Rome played on the Adidas team in Columbus. But 2 guys from Ohio, from different generations, both here at Xavier, and, that magical moment, March Madness, advancing in the NCAA tournament, how it can really bring people together. And I think most importantly, like how much it means, how special it means, all those days that you work when you're younger and you think about, will I ever have a chance to play in the tournament, or I want to be on a team that gets to the Final Four, when it's actually reality. It's something that you can't put into words. It's emotions that you have for the rest of your life. And you kind of see BJ and him sharing in that, and that's why it's what it's about. We got to keep getting there.
BJ, thanks for coming on. First former player on the show.
Thanks. I loved it.
There we go. We'll
appreciate
keep
it.
the
I
first
loved
going.
it. Yeah. Keep it going.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching and listening. Of course, thanks to our sponsor, Deer Park Roofing, for helping make all of this possible. We'll see you next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with your friends, especially for watching this on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on all podcast platforms, share it around, follow us on all social media at Sean Miller Pod. We'll see you next time on the Sean Miller Podcast.
This has been the Sean Miller Podcast, presented by Deer Park Roofing, with your hosts, Paul Fritschner and Adam Baum. Join us again soon for another episode with the head coach of the Xavier Musketeers, Sean Miller.